Reading is the lost habit. In the being, reading and skill combine from the beginning of its manifestation. Learning gradually diminishes this necessary habit, which, when lost, causes the being to lose the map and its paths. The lack of attention and surrender to the oddities of a parallel universe gradually make the being strange and unrecognizable to itself. A camouflaged truth, constant and persistent, reveals itself and reintroduces the being to itself. The natural being, when discovered, uncovers the strength that sustains the real gaze that sees without eyes. Silence naturally imposes itself, and coexistence can now be simply convincing to others and to environments. The one who saw themselves through the eyes of others, and whom others still see, is no longer the being, nor its representative. On the land of the being, the sky of the being opens, and what was obscure becomes clear. The paradox of ascension dissolves, and ascension comprehends the universe. The being recognizes the origin, that which precedes it, and every step that brought it back to recognition. Indeed, the recognition of not being what it seemed to be, was the spark that awakened it. The demystification of things and processes is a hard journey, proportional to the involvements and depth with which the being is engaged. The proper use of the senses preserved the natural ability to read things and other beings. The light of its own gaze placed it in the correct and unique place, protecting it from succumbing to influences. Its own light made it a beacon, and it no longer succumbed to vanity, quite the opposite. It hid itself in its own silence, which also protects it from shared interactions aiming to mask the light. Hiding oneself, while being amidst the mix of life, takes priority in the initial work. By not recognizing itself as a being, the being seeks the being that it is. Thus, the work begins. Work that invariably involves transformation through dissolution. By not recognizing itself, the being also does not recognize anything that sustains what it is not. Turning inward is a way to tell the being that it needs to reclaim its real gaze. Its real gaze devalues and places its appearance in the correct place. The being hides itself in the common and the insignificant. Not being perceived, despite the expansion of its light, strengthens it, but contradicts the guidance of leaving marks in history. The moment the being discovers the strength, and the foolish idea of its use in the manifested world, is the great turning point in the transformation of that being, which reached this strength through the path of harmlessness. It is the force of all forces, which will never be used, being the only one that integrates the whole being and is always active and protective. For this reason, it triumphs and penetrates.